But first tonight, the life and times of Darren Millane. Darren's death has grown into a phenomenon that people who don't love Australian rules football may find hard to understand. Since he was killed in a car accident on early Monday morning, a record number of bereavement notices representing an estimated 10,000 people have been placed in Melbourne newspapers to honour a star footballer who liked to walk on the wild side. Frank Maguire reports tonight on the emotional outpouring for a working class hero that culminated at his funeral today.
Rui at the back, but a good mark to Millane. Excellent mark. Pass to Millane. Millane trying to get onto the right foot. Set sail for home, Darren Millane. To go with him and close it is.
Comes to Williams. Running past is Millane. Darren Millane off the left boot. Yes.
In inner circles at Collingwood, he was known as the young raging bull. Fearless, highly competitive, winning was all important, firstly his own opponent and then the team. And this was where he was at his best, on the football field. He loved the fast lane, he loved to share it with all those who wished to share it with him.
The presence of Darren Millane loomed as large over Collingwood's award ceremony last night as it did when he commanded the wings of football grounds throughout Australia. Teammates and supporters struggled to make sense of the fast life and sudden death of a rebel whose cause was Collingwood.
The first thing about him, I think, was the indefinable word presence. On the field, probably off the field as well. I think it was the combination of his sheer physical strength and power, the sheer probably class and ability that he had. But I think that was only part of it. We can always picture, I think, the sort of nonchalant, almost blasé way he carried himself on the football field. He'd kick the inspirational goal or set up the inspirational goal, and he sort of strutted as if to say, I do that all the time. He sort of let you know as much about him as he wanted you to know, I think. He, despite his flamboyant image, was a pretty private person in a lot of ways.
The sort of guy that never backed down from confrontation on and off the field, and a lot of times that got into some trouble, but I mean, he'd do anything for anyone, and I mean, there's kids dying in hospital he'd go and see every week, but you know, generally just never backed down, and that's his whole attitude was, I'm here and you've got to go around me, and it was a fantastic thing to have, and a lot of times it got him into trouble, but a great bloke.
The umpire, McEwen gets the hand pass away. Millane went right over the ball. Down went Werner, and we've got a boundary throw in.
And that was perfectly legitimate, and that's how you take a player out.
Millane's refusal to back down helped make him a top footballer, but led to trouble when mixed with alcohol off the ground.
24-year-old Darren Millane and his 44-year-old father, Robert, were each charged with intentionally causing injury and assault. The charges relate to a fight at the Boundary Hotel in East Bentley in November last year.
Further allegations of violence were raised against Millane and teammate Dennis Banks last month, after they allegedly tried to hijack an interstate bus following a function at a city disco, the night Collingwood failed to make this year's finals.
When the time came, and if it was so decreed, he would love to captain Collingwood. But he knew that was a blot on the copybook. It happened in an instant, so quickly, and of course, as always happens, anything to do with Collingwood and Darren Millane was instant news. And he came to Gubby Allen, as Gubby told me, and said, look, next to my family, I love the club. I love the club more than anything next to my family. If the club doesn't want me, I'll go. He was immediately told, you are a son of Collingwood. You belong at Collingwood. You will never ever play for anyone else but Collingwood. And I want to say to his mum and dad, Denise and Bob and Sean and John, your family is not down to 4 now. It's 500,004, because the Collingwood people is the big family that's with you. We're sad with you. We'll reminisce with you. We'll bleed with you. And one day we'll laugh with you again.
working class hero is something to be. A working class hero is something to be. If you want to be a hero, well, just follow me.
Police closed off the streets of Dandenong, the working class suburb where Darren Millane was born, for a memorial service today that was bigger than some state funerals. About 4,000 people line the streets outside the Dandenong Town Hall, centre of a suburb whose unemployment rate is so high it has been dubbed Dole City.
There is no greater tragedy than the death of a young man in the prime of his life. Darren's sudden death has brought us sorrow and shock, and deep ties of love and friendship, admiration and loyalty are involved. Those who feel deeply will grieve deeply.
Darren's courage in the finals are legendary. He played with a broken thumb, an extraordinary feat. And I remember after one game at Waverley, he was weeping profusely with the pain. And I was standing beside Dr. John Bartlett, the eminent surgeon, and John said to him, "Matey, I can't let you play anymore." And Darren immediately let go with expletives which inferred that the brilliant doctor didn't have a clue about what he was doing. He played 3 more games with the same broken hand. He wept after each one of them. In the final game, that broken thumb threw that ball into the air at the final siren.
We've got a trait about an Australian people that we don't tell people we love them until they're gone. It's a macho thing, I think, and it is a shame because if I could say to Darren now that I loved him, and I think the players would too, that, excuse me, that, you know, he was one thing that really gave the Collingwood Football Club a bit of life around the footy club. He might have done a few things wrong, but he has got no regrets because he's had a great life.